So it seems that Games Workshop's up to some mildly creepy internet shenanigans down in the YouTube comments, and views that criticise them on their official channels are expunged. Let's take a look at their comments policy and put their filter through its paces with a series of tests for science. I had a lot of fun making this one. Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today I thought I'd take a video in a subject that interested me really quite a lot, and I couldn't resist having a play around with the way that Games Workshop seems to be doing some shenanigans with their YouTube comments. Games Workshop do have many sources that they officially communicate with their fans, Warhammer community perhaps being one of the main places, but they also have presence on most of their different social media platforms, their own Facebook and Twitter pages, and of course the Warhammer YouTube channel that was previously called Warhammer TV. This one's the official channel that communicates things about 40k, Age of Sigmar and more. It definitely doesn't really seem to be quite as coordinated as Warhammer Community. Basically, if they just make any videos, most of them wind up here. They make a whole load of genuinely quite useful painting guides, and also videos for their little reveals and hype videos, and occasionally bigger content like the odd battle report that makes its way here instead of Warhammer Plus. Generally on their YouTube channel, comments have typically been turned off. Not literally for every video, and they do seem to have been experimenting a bit more, but this does kind of hark back to the days when Games Workshop was a bit more monolithic, never really had any good contact with its fans whatsoever, and I would argue that they do that a lot better today than they did, say, maybe 5 or 10 years back. Having comments turned off maybe isn't exactly abnormal for companies, particularly ones that might be getting a whole load of fans criticise them, but I do think it's pretty annoying from an end user's perspective. You can gain quite a lot through the comments and people pointing out obvious other takes. You can get other insights that aren't available in the main video through them. Say for example, whenever I make a rules mistake in my videos, you guys tend to point it out, and I think that is helpful for other people watching. To an extent I can see why they do it. This one's just another advertising vehicle for them, and they want to use it to sell their models. They don't really want to give a platform to detractors if they can help it. Recently though, over the last week or two, I noticed that basically all of their videos had comments turned on, a move that really seems to have been hailed by a lot of people as a really positive step, but all is not as it seems. The video that first made me think about this was taking a look at the third year of Warhammer Plus being announced. This one was the one that announced that Kazakin model that I made a video on a couple of days back. It's just a 30-second hype video for Warhammer Plus, and has racked up 26,000 views. Taking a look at the comments, they're all clearly written by real people. Someone says Kazakin is an instant must-have, based on the classic artwork perhaps, where's Astartes too, and I have a feeling that the exclusive miniatures are going to be ace. They've got a fair few comments, around about 70 or 80. Not only are people discussing that though, but they're also discussing of the comment section being open just in itself. There's a few comments saying, thanks to Games Workshop for keeping the comments up, it's definitely a step in the right direction. Whoa, we can comment, thanks social team, and the Warhammer YouTube account manager is about to get fired for leaving the comments on again, which the Warhammer TV team cheekily replied nah to. To the casual observer just looking in, it's a really quite nice positive discussion, lots of people enjoying their Warhammer. And of course YouTube themselves have handily hidden the like to dislike counter, so most people can't really see how popular this video is or not. However though, as for anyone who follows Warhammer around, Warhammer Plus is kind of controversial. It's Games Workshop's subscription model, including a few things, mainly their animations and stuff, but you also get a miniature included and I guess now access to their army builder. But in general, people just don't really want yet another subscription model in their life. It was very controversial at launch with their treatment of fan animators and sort of broadly bullying a bunch of people into joining them. And also, while some people genuinely do have it and enjoy it, a lot of people perceive it as having lack of content, and some people just outright hate it and what it stands for. As a result, while YouTube might normally hide the like to dislike ratio, it is possible just to reveal it with a simple browser extension, and you can see the Warhammer Plus one here isn't exactly doing very well. 736 likes to well over 1,000 dislikes, pretty unhealthy really. Rightly or wrongly, there's a lot of people who don't like Warhammer Plus or don't like the way that it's been announced here. This is really quite a bit of a contrast to the comments, which are literally all broadly positive or asking for further content, or at least neutral to Games Workshop and Warhammer Plus. You don't find any criticism there or people saying that it's not worth the money. Clearly something a bit weird is going on. Basically, it looks like Games Workshop has made themselves a YouTube comments positive echo chamber just by filtering out all the major criticism. I think it's maybe a bit dishonest where you could be a casual observer just looking in and it all looks like a free and fair discussion like you'd find elsewhere on YouTube, where people can post pretty much what they like within reason. I do find it kind of creepy when it's not really disclosed like that and you don't really know what you're looking at. Ideally, when you look at a comment section, you like to think that there's going to be both positive and negative views expressed and anything relevant, rather than just a filtered version telling half the story. It appears that their system is that you'll initially have comments filtered and then manually approved by Games Workshop, the ones that make the cut. And with that system in mind, I kind of couldn't resist throwing out some test comments out there to see what would pass the filter and what would get rejected, and see where Games Workshop draw the line. There really were a few fun ones here that were kind of revealing, and I have saved the best till last here. There was one that I found particularly fun. Starting out with a test, we'll go in all guns blazing just to make sure that is what is happening. See if the Warhammer YouTube team can handle heavy criticism. So using one of a few different alternative YouTube accounts, I posted this one, calling Warhammer Plus a lazy cash grab that epitomises everything that's wrong with Games Workshop in recent years. I was just trying to think of a comment that's the absolute opposite of what Games Workshop really wants to see on their video, maybe voicing an opinion in a fairly impolite way, though I would argue that that's not really a reason to not allow people to say things. As suspected, it's not immediately visible as soon as I comment it. It looks like the system is that things are held in reserve and then manually approved by someone who's managing their social media. Perhaps as anticipated, this one was flat out denied. This comment never got approved, despite other ones on the same video getting approved later, as we'll see. But yes, it seems that if you just flat out diss a Games Workshop product, then it's not going to get approved. To try and win back some redemption from that same YouTube account, I decided to post a follow-up comment just saying something fairly innocuous. I went for Kazakin are cool on that same video. Would Games Workshop allow this user's comment to get through, even if they posted a naughty comment previously? Overall, it seems not, at least on this same video. Again, despite other comments being approved later, this one never got allowed. So it looks like this user is kind of shadow banned, at least on this one video, though it didn't seem to apply to other videos that I tried to comment on later. I feel like again the shadow banning is maybe a little bit deceptive. It's maybe something that's not uncommon on the internet if you happen to post things that break forum rules or something like that, though usually those rules are explicitly stated. For example, on this YouTube account where I commented those two comments, if you look down at the video's comments, then they just appear with all the rest. There at the top of the comments is the person who's asking where's the Astartes to, then my two comments, and then someone talking about the Kazakin and the artwork. Looks like nothing's amiss and your comments are there for everyone to see. What's different though is if you view the video through another account, another unbiased observer who isn't yourself, then basically you'd be able to see all the rest of the comments, but those two would be gone. It means that people can go onto the video, comment something critical, think that they've had their say potentially, and then just get no reactions or any replies to it, because of course the comment isn't actually there on the video in reality. Next up, just to check that Games Workshop isn't just blocking all comments whatsoever, I thought I'd just comment something completely innocuous. I went to one of their many painting tutorials, said love it, thanks for the tutorial, about as innocuous as you can possibly get as a YouTube comment there. This one perhaps unsurprisingly was approved, as with the rest there was a short delay between me posting it and it coming online for other channels. I guess the time between the person reading it and approving it, and deeming it as licensed Games Workshop things that can be on their videos. I thought I'd just double check that on the Warhammer Plus video to see if that was still being monitored. Maybe that one had just passed the time when they'd look at it. So again, I posted another thing just saying great stuff, looking forward to it. Again, exactly the sort of thing that they'd want to see. Again, this one was accepted fairly quickly, available for everyone to look at. Just another addition to a very positive comment section overall, it would seem. Perhaps a bit more interesting though is trying to establish exactly where the line lies, perhaps for a few more minor criticisms of Games Workshop. First up, I thought I'd go for a very mildly negative one on the painting tutorial. I went for not how I'd have painted it, to be honest. Negative, but only by the slightest amount. Looks like this one can safely bypass the filters. Seems that you can get away a tiny little bit of criticism that's more due to aesthetic interpretation, I guess. Next, I thought it might be interesting to pair some good stuff with some bad stuff, saying I love the tutorial, but Games Workshop is not such a great company. A positive there, but also directly criticising them in a bit more of a polite way than it was before. Looks like that one wasn't permitted either though. Seems that maybe the line that they draw is that you can criticise things that are more based on interpretation, but you're not allowed to directly say anything that's either bad about Games Workshop, and I guess probably most likely things that are bad about any of their products. I probably could have just found this out by looking at YouTube guides as to managing and moderating comments, but I thought it would be interesting to see if you could try and bypass their filter by editing a comment that you've already had approved, and then just change it to something else completely different if you fancy. I tried editing the one that got approved, sort of saying how it's not how I would have painted it, to a completely different thing, saying that they're filtering the comments to allow just the positive ones through, and to see where that'd get me. First up, at least initially, that one was denied. Looks like if you edit a comment, it goes straight back in the bucket. It needs to be looked at and approved at by the moderator once more. I guess that kind of makes sense, as you could just edit it to something completely different, as I did there. It does indeed look like they do get things reassessed though. I edited one of those very nice comments before and just added more positivity to it, and that one came back again after a few minutes or so. I was kind of interested to see how that other one would get on though, the one that I decided just to go for all capital letters, they're filtering the comments to allow only the positive ones through. I thought that would be kind of fun to see whether or not they let that one through. It's not directly criticising Games Workshop or any of their products or anything, so maybe that one might be allowed to bypass the filter. As I mentioned, I thought it was interesting that it initially got blocked, but did it ever come back? The answer was no, it did not. Seems that Games Workshop don't really want people to know that they're playing games with the comments. I must admit this one does feel a little bit dishonest to me, seeing as I feel like that's basically a fact at this point. So far all the other things that I'd posted that were negative had got rejected, and the positive things had got accepted, so they clearly are filtering the comments, but don't really want anyone to post and tell you about it. Finally though, for the main test, and the one that I found really quite fun, here was a couple of comments by other people. These ones weren't written by me. Someone had posted, "Hey, we can comment, now I can finally say that I like the tutorials," and someone replied to them saying, "Me too, but no one sees my comments." I found both of these just kind of ironic in their own way. The first one's kind of bang on in that you can certainly say as much positivity as you like, and the second one seems to have twigged that things seem to have been filtered at some stage. I guess they might have posted something that got banned, or perhaps just having commented something and then it got put in the list of things to get looked at, and assumed that the comments would never get through just because there was a bit of a delay. I thought I'd join the discussion there, again by an alternative account, saying yeah, it's a good move for discussion. Being able to say both positive and negative things is a really nice move. I was kind of interested as to whether this one would get approved or not. Turns out yes, the answer is you are indeed allowed to be mistaken and assume that you're allowed to say both positives and negative things, and they're not going to stop you from saying that. Kind of funny seeing as my comment was completely untrue, and it doesn't really look like you're allowed to be too negative about Games Workshop, whether it's polite or impolite. I have to admit I did find that one pretty amusing. Just looking at these two side by side, I did think was a little bit ironic. The one where I say that they're filtering the comments to allow only the positive ones through, that one itself was denied and no one got to see it. Whereas the one where I said the opposite and said you're allowed to say positive and negative things, that one's allowed for everyone to see. It does just feel a little bit hypocritical. Then just for an added bit of fun, the official Warhammer community chipped into that same comment thread, reassuring commenter number 2 that nothing bad's going on here and they can certainly see his comments. If they take that word at face value, I'm not sure if they're going to be entirely getting the full picture there. In any case, after that, my fun with the comments done, I consigned all my experiments to the fires of YouTube comment deletion and went off to make this video. I will be kind of interested to hear what you guys make of the comment things that they were doing here. Obviously I'm not saying that it's not something that lots of companies do all around the world, but I feel like it just smacks of a bit of dishonesty, and perhaps what I particularly dislike is that it's just not really obvious to the casual observer who can neither see the dislike to like ratio, nor see any clear sign that they're filtering the YouTube comments for only positivity. This was all mainly done just for entertainment or interest though, not really trying to make any sort of big point here. I definitely can see that companies probably want some fairly heavy moderation on their comment sections and don't want people spamming, scamming, or just generally posting really unpleasant stuff to mess with people. I think in general a bit of light touch moderation can generally make a discussion section a lot better for everyone. This quite clearly goes far beyond that though, and just seems to be making a bit of an echo chamber with people who agree with them. It is kind of interesting to think that it is a real person just answering and passing or denying these. Hope they weren't too annoyed with my little experiments. I think in general they do really quite a good job of engaging with the community in ways that they're allowed to. Must be a bit of a weird role to basically represent the face of a company, but then very rigidly have to adhere to guidance so you don't make the entire company look pretty bad. As I guess the wrong thing posted by the official Warhammer YouTube channel or something would look really quite bad if it was circulated and they did something really dodgy. I feel like when this sort of thing is brought up, a lot of people tend to say it's just some temp manning the YouTube channel socials, but I don't think that's really the case. It's not something that Games Workshop can really afford to be all that blasé about. I'm sure it'll be done by someone who knows their job well. Let me know what you make of this though. Is this any better than Games Workshop having the comments turned off in their YouTube videos? Look forward to hearing your thoughts down in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics. I'll certainly keep the Warhammer related discussion coming, generally more relating to the tabletop game though than YouTube things. Finally, if you have been enjoying the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page, and you can find that linked in the video description if you'd like to support content like this. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some really big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, an absolutely massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.